All right. Good evening, everyone from Nansha, China. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Beer Mosas. Beer Mosas are the official drink of quarantine in Nansha. And for a simple recipe, you take a glass, fill her on up with your favorite Chinese beer. Tonight we're using Qingdao. And then you just give a little topper of your uh, local orange juice, which is not quite real orange juice, but it's pretty good. And give her a nice little swirly whirly, and mm. This beer mosa coincidentally is brought to you by our friend Sarah Shia, who is works with us at school and was amazing enough to bring us a care package last evening filled with seltzer water and beer and orange juice so we could make beer mosas. And now we are living the dream. So, on tonight's episode of Quarantine Theater, I'd like to tell you the story of our flight to China. I know it's been 2 days in quarantine and I haven't actually started talking about quarantine yet, but there's a lot to say and I can't fit it all in one day. So, today we're going to actually talk about the journey here. So, our flight to China left from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. The flight was at about 8:40 in the morning, so we got to the airport at 5:30, I think, and that's about 6:30 China time, and that's AM. And the first thing you notice right once you get to the airport is that the only flights that were leaving the airport were flights to China. No other flights were happening at the airport at all. So we got in line, and things were going pretty smoothly. Got into the front pretty quickly, and of course, they had to check with Katrina's passport again because it was an emergency passport. But this time it was much faster. We didn't have to wait. We only probably waited 5 or 10 minutes, and they helped us through. And so we got in fairly early, and so we stopped at duty free, and we got some nice whiskey. That's for later, and some champagne to hold us over. And I bought about 4.5 liter bottles of water because who knows how long we were going to be there. And we boarded our flight a little bit after 8 o'clock. It was pretty full, not too bad though, and took off right on time at 8:40. It was a smooth flight, and we landed in Guangzhou at about 11:20 a.m. So I skipped ahead. Before we landed, as we were flying, the crew came around, and if you could take a look at our passports there, they gave everybody, I'm not sure who exactly all got red dots, but I know all the foreigners got red dots, and I think maybe it was transit passengers got yellow dots, and foreigners got red dots. And basically, we landed at about 11:40, and we had to stay on the plane, and they would call us off by certain rows, and then they called off certain colors, and of course the red dots were the last to go off the plane. And I just want to quickly take a moment to thank our China Southern stewardesses because there was a lot of announcements in Chinese that they didn't translate, and so I asked them a lot of questions, and they were very helpful. Then I also had to fill out a health sheet and write down my address in Chinese. And for those of you who don't know what that looks like, this is my address in Chinese, and as it turns out, I can't write that, and so they helped us write our addresses down on our sheets, and it was very lovely of them. So we landed about 11:20, and I'd say we got off the plane at about 12:20, and then we got into the airport, and we had this first initial line where we had to give the people the sheet that we just had, or they were just checking. I'm not exactly sure what they did. Now, while we were standing in this line, I managed to drop this letter here, and there was this weird substance. I'm not really sure what it was, and I still don't really know what it was, but it instantly led to a frantic spat of hand washing. And so we're standing in line, and this process took quite a while. It probably took us 2 hours almost to get to the to get to our health check. And the health check was just a basic quarantine, not a quarantine, but a quick interview about your travel history. As we were waiting in line, Katrina found one of the little automated police robots, and as you can see, it's very cute. It's wearing a face mask as well. And eventually, while we were standing in line, it's kind of hard to see, but you might be able to see that please stand at least 1.5 meters away from people. And as you can clearly see in the background, it's not super helpful in terms of keeping people 1.5 meters away from each other. But to be fair, the signs were small, so I mean, maybe people just didn't know. So at about 1:20, we actually got to our health interview, and basically they wanted to know where we've been over the last 14 days. So I just want to say our school is awesome, and what they did for us was they made this letter in Chinese, my name, address, my passport, where I work, and where I've been the last 14 days and beyond that. And basically, if you have any trouble, there's a Chinese speaker you can call and talk to right here. And on top of all of this, we had this whole like folder of receipts and stuff of just like places that we've been over the past 14 days to prove that we've been there. So after the interview, we got this little slip, and it's the permission of the health quarantine, and it says the passenger has passed the quarantine procedure. So after this interview, we have to go through immigration, where I have to show them the letter again, and we have to fill out another slip of paper, and then we collect our luggage. And so by the time we get our collect our luggage and get through customs, it's about 3 hours after we've landed. Now, again, working at an awesome place. The director of our school, Dr. Michael Cyrus, is there, along with Rain and Reese, two of the most amazing people I know who have helped us through this entire process. And they're there just to say hi and support us, because they can't really talk to us or make contact with us, and it really means a lot. And so we see them for maybe 5 minutes and then head over to the tables where we get sorted into our houses based on the cities that we live in. And wouldn't you know it, Katrina and I get sorted into House Nansha, which means it's time for more paperwork, of course, right? We go to the Nansha table and fill out paperwork about where we're going. So that's by about 3 o'clock. We have finished all of that, and we're waiting for the 4 o'clock bus. While we are waiting for that bus, I randomly get interviewed by what I think is a TV channel asking me about the service at the airport. In retrospect, I probably should have asked beforehand who was interviewing me and why, but I was pretty tired, so I just said sure. So there it is. At around 4 o'clock, the bus is supposed to leave for Nansha, but it's nowhere to be seen. And Katrina talks to the bus, I guess while I was asleep, and not the bus, but the driver. And not even the driver, just the guy who's there. And he I guess he says it's like going to be closer to 5 or 5:30. So we've smuggled in some Krispy Kremes from Cambodia, and so we have a mid-afternoon snack because we haven't really eaten anything at all since breakfast that morning. And we have a donut and take a nap, and at about 5:30, we board the bus to get back to Nansha. Now, on the way on the bus, we basically had to go out like this, and they sprayed us all down with disinfectant, and we had to lift our feet up so they'd spray that down as well. And it takes about 2 hours to get to the first hotel in Nansha, and we wait while they're checking off the other passengers because we're going to stay at a different hotel. We wind up going to the second hotel and start getting off, but we sort of get yelled at because I guess we're going to the third hotel, not the second hotel. And then finally at about 8:30, we arrive at our hotel. Now, when we get to the hotel, we have to give them the resident permit for living here in Nansha, and there are police there to help us check in. They show us up to the room of the hotel, and we get up to the room by about, 8:45 or so. Our school has left some care packages full of food and towels and a couple other necessities. And we learned from the guy there that there's a app on our phones where we can order food from through the hotel. I don't really want to order food from the hotel, and so we wind up ordering about $20 worth of McDonald's and just pounding through it because we have not eaten all day, and it was great. So yeah, that was our story coming back from Cambodia. I just want to say thank you to all of the Chinese people who are working in the process of helping people through this time. It's truly extraordinary, and it's an incredible undertaking, and it's got to be stressful dealing with people who could possibly be sick with this virus. And everybody was very, very kind to us. And one of the sad things was that we all had face masks on. And one of the things that I really enjoy about traveling is being able to smile with people who, when we don't speak the same language. And you couldn't see it with the face masks on, but you could tell when they were doing it. And it was both sad that you couldn't see it, but also it was still that level of connection that you could see, because with the face masks on, you could only tell if they were smiling, if they really meant it, and touched their eyes. So thank you to everyone who got us back. A little bit of news, if you haven't heard, I guess at midnight tonight, China is officially closing its borders to all foreigners. So anybody else from school who has not gotten back yet, doesn't sound like they're getting back anytime soon. So say a prayer for them. And we are okay. We're still waiting for our test results. We got tested yesterday morning. We'll talk about that more on our next episode. And that's it. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night and make yourself a beer mosa. You deserve it.